So that was just a snapshot of all the work that Adil Hussain has done. We are very grateful to you for accepting our invitation today, Mr. Hussain. Mr. Hussain, you're a theatre person, acclaimed actor in Indian cinema, from art house cinema to mainstream Bollywood, not to mention your repertoire in Assamese, Bengali, Tamil, Marathi, and Malayalam films as well. And you have stamped your presence in international cinema with your critically acclaimed performances in award-winning films such as Ang Lee's Oscar-winning Life of Pi, Mira Nair's The Reluctant Fundamentalist. You played the husband in Sri Devi's comeback film, English Vinglish. And you received critical acclaim also for playing the frustrated, overworked son to a father who is desperately seeking salvation in Mukti, Bhavan, or Hotel Salvation. You had a pivotal role in the Star Trek Discovery Season 3, and you joined an elite club of Indian actors to be ever in this season. Your work has been recognized in the Norwegian film, What Will People Say? Also in the Oscar-winning filmmaker Danish Tavonicious film, Tigers, as well as in Italo Spinelli's Italian-Indian co-production called Gangaur, to name but a few. Your mainstream Hindi cinema includes Commando 2, Love Sonia, Mantra, Dobara, Kabuliwala, Lootera, May or Charles, Aiyaary, Kaminey, Good News, and 2.0, to name but a few. Mr. Hussain, you received the National Award for your lead role in Hotel Salvation, Mukti Bhavan, and in Majrati Ketaki. You received the Best Actor Award for your work in Lessons in Forgetting at the New Jersey Independent South Asian Cine Fest. Your film, Meal, won the Best Short Film Award in the US this year. So today, we will all be part of your journey in a conversation we want to have with you and learn from you about your life, your craft, and the industry that you've been part of for so many decades. But before we start, let me introduce myself and my organization. FLOW is the women's wing of FICCI, and this is the oldest chamber of commerce for women in South Asia. I'm delighted to welcome you on behalf of the 17 chapters of FLOW that I represent as the 37th national president. And you will be happy to know that I'm the first president from the Northeast and from our Northeast FLOW chapter. And I'm also very proud to be able to introduce you, such a storehouse of talent, to be from my corner of the country, from Assam, to speak to all of us today. In this new normal, we have a small virtual token of appreciation for you, Mr. Hussain, and I would request FICCI IT to please show our virtual memento. Thank you. So, Mr. Hussain, before we start our conversation, would you like to say a few words to us before we start off with our questions for you? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm here and I'm privileged and honored to be here, and especially privileged because you, Janaki Fukan, you are the first woman from my part of the world, and I'm so proud and so honored to speak with you today. And I guess in 37 years, someone from the Northeast, especially from my home state, Assam, has become the president or fellow the organization, associate organization of FICCI. I am proud of our part of the world because we have such a pool of amazingly talented people from all walks of life, art, in culture, in sports, in business. And for some reason or the other, we took a long time to come out from that region because most probably that we come from a very, very beautiful part of the country where nature is, sort of bestowed us with so fertile land that we don't even have to, when I grew up, when I was in Assam in my childhood, we didn't have to even grow things. We have to just go to the backyard and pick up the green leafy vegetables or leaves and we still have a pond where we catch fish, and so everything was very readily available, and we were very happy with ourselves. Didn't need to go out like from like the other people from different parts of our country where things are a bit harsher in terms of climatic conditions. And so that's the reason most probably that Northeast is slowly coming out. And there are other reasons. I don't want to go to that area of the political aspects of it at this point of time. But now that I see so many people from the Northeast, from Nagaland, from Manipur, from Mizoram, from Arunachal, Tripura, and Assam, Meghalaya. I just finished a film in Shillong. We shot it and it's in Khasi English language. I played the lead in that. And there is a very good news that I just got to know just before we started this meeting that that film had been selected for the New York Indian Film Festival. And I had been nominated as one of the best actors, and the director, writer of the film also had been nominated for best screenplay. So that's a very good news, and I'm very, very honored to speak to all of you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. That is so interesting to know, and congratulations, and more power to the Northeast. Finally, our stories are going to be told. But to start at the very beginning, you left home at the age of 18 to study philosophy in B. Borra College, Guwahati. You started acting in college plays, and you started as a stand-up comedian. And from there to where you got to, tell us a little bit about your early life. That'd be so interesting for us to know.
I'll talk about it in briefly because it's a long story. It will be a book otherwise.
I know.
So I was very fascinated by mimicry. And there were these two comedians who used to come and perform during the Bihu. And for people, those who don't know about the kind of celebration that we observe in Assam, is that every year there will be cultural events across Assam in almost all villages. So where I come from is a small little beautiful town called Gwalpara on the bank of the river. And I used to get very, very influenced by these two mimicry actors. And I started doing that, continued doing school plays. My first play was in 1971 when I was, I guess, 7, 8 years old. And that I sort of tasted blood then, the magic of theater, magic of acting. It felt like the time stood still for me. Half an hour felt like 5 minutes. And went on and continued. And then I realized that I want to act. I just loved acting. So pursued that through my college. Then I came to know about the National School of Drama. Of course, before I joined National School of Drama, I did television and cinema, film, documentaries, street plays, radio plays, video films, telefilms, you name it, I have done it in Guwahati. And then I came to know about NSD. And in NSD, for some reason, those reasons are extremely delicate, and most probably we will share it later. I became very interested in theater because I felt that theater, the engagement of an actor in theater is so intense than the experiences I had in films in Assam and theater in Assam, that I did not want to act in films anymore after I graduated from National Institute of Drama. And then I continued to do theater, and theater, unfortunately, in India, which should ideally change, and I hope the concerned authorities, put a lot of money into theater. And it would be wonderful for young people to do theater and learn the nuances of life and nuances of the interpersonal relationships. It's one of the best tools that we have, an inexpensive tool to learn about oneself for self-discovery. So I started my theater, and I could not definitely live a decent life from the earnings that I did from theater. So I started teaching acting, and while teaching, I learned the most. And on the receiving end, I also got some money, and I somehow managed to survive. But then one of the directors from Bombay, he saw my audition, which was done for a film. And he came to Delhi to sort of convince me to act in films. That was in 2009. And so I acted, my first Hindi film was Ishqiya with Vidya Balan, Nasiruddin Shah, and Arshad Warsi. And I played Vidya Balan's husband in that. And that sort of became a very, very popular, not extremely popular, but very well appreciated and critically acclaimed film. And I kept getting offers after that. So that's, in a nutshell, is my, journey.
Right. There, for your tremendous amount of work, when I was going through what you had to say, and I must tell you here that we have this, our flow secretariat, Ankurita Pathak, Deputy Director. She's the one who first said, Adil Hussain and Boy Lagibo, that we must get up. When we were talking about all our talent from the Northeast, you were the first person we wanted to start with.
Right.
And really, and then Adil, there's so many things to go back and forth on. But I was very excited when you're acting in that Oscar-winning film, Life of Pi. How was it like to work with director Ang Lee? You had said about him that his language isn't just verbal; it's like some sort of energy transmission, and that's what makes you perform. Must have been. What was that experience to work with someone like Ang Lee, boy from Assam, and going there?
I know. Tell me about it. I mean, I had no idea that I will end up working with Ang Lee or any of the great directors, Oscar winners. I never dreamt of it. I just wanted to act. That's the only thing. And probably this is important if anybody who wants to pursue this line, it would be most probably an important element that they can remember, that if one focuses on the craft and go deeper into the craft, understanding acting, the art of acting and what it entails, most probably then the byproducts are all these that you have shown and made the short clip about my. I just wanted to act and act well. Yes. Because I was very inspired by the great actors and Dustin Hoffman, and the theater actors of the world, like very few people know about their names. Thomas Richard and Mario Biagini, these are great theater actors. They're the ideals. So working with Ang Lee was a blessing in disguise, because he also had sort of instilled in me and fortified my belief that humility is not a virtue. It is a tool for being very sensitive and for accommodating the other in your life, because acting is about embodying the other, embodying your other aspects, without deep respect for the other. There is no possibility that one would even begin to understand the other. So Ang Lee himself practices that. He's the humblest director I have ever met. He would walk for 2 minutes to come and tell me 1 or 2 words, whispers into my ear, which felt like energy transmission, which you have mentioned. Though the words, but what he actually meant by those words are, I have sort of not only understood intellectually, but I felt it with my entire being and my body. So the execution of his instruction became very easy because I felt it. And once you are sensitive enough, and one has been trained to be sensitive, then you can execute it. You know the craft. So it was a great learning, and he felt like a sort of unwilling conductor of a very, very, very complex orchestra. And he pretended to be a conductor, but he's actually a co-musician sitting beside you all the time and creating the music. So that's my experience.
Okay. That's beautifully put. You're going to put it better for us to understand and absorb what you're trying to say. But you are also the only Indian actor who's been awarded the Norwegian National Award, which is known as the Amanda Award, and the Canon Prisen Award as the best actor for the Norwegian film. What will people say?
Right.
Tell us more about it.
It is, again, unexpected. I got a call suddenly one day that this director from Norway called Iram Haq, her parents migrated from India and Pakistan and went to Norway. And it is her personal story that how her father kidnapped her and took her to Pakistan because she was found with a white boy in their house. And she grew up to tell the story. So when I'm like, this is the way we met each other on video call, like the way I'm talking to you. And she came across as such a vulnerable, there is certain purity in her heart and the humility also to understand her father's points of view. Otherwise, I said, see, I'm not going to portray a person as a villain because nobody is a villain. If we understand the perspective of the other, then we understand the reasons behind their action. Then my father is also a villain because he was a patriarch. But he didn't know any better. Like the husband that you have mentioned of Sri Devi that I played, he's not a villain. He's just a person who didn't know any better to do. He grew up in a patriarchal society. So similarly, so then I said, okay, the film was shot in India and Norway, and it was nominated for the best actor and best film, best cinematography and all that. And we got 4 awards, best director, best screenplay, best actor. And I was surprised because a national award in India is not given to anybody who is an outsider, who is not a citizen of India. That's the reason that one of our films I acted in called Arunaday, Sunrise, which was not qualified for national award because the director, though born and brought up in India, but a French citizen, he could not, the film was not even nominated, though even half produced by National Film Development Corporation. So I thought that they are just showing off Norwegian people. They are trying to prove, look how inclusive we are and all that. But then they gave me the award. In my speech, receiving speech during the award, I said that this kind of democracy should be ideally, inspire other nations, that art should cross all boundaries, like businesses have crossed boundaries. Art should also cross boundaries, and there should not be any restriction in giving awards just because the other person is not from the country, our country. So it was an Canon Prison Award, which is the award for the, it is like Oscar. The entire Scandinavian film fraternity, they vote for it. So I got that award, and it's an Amanda Award is a national award.
Tremendous. And thanks for taking us through it again, because I don't know how much we get to absorb this information, but hearing it from you, we understand the huge impact and the whole passion, the whole philosophy that you put behind, really, that art transcends, your craft transcends all boundaries.
Yes, yes.
That's so true. And we also introduced, you had this pivotal role you played in the Star Trek Discovery season 3. You joined a very elite club, I understand. How was it like there?
Yeah, again, as I said, that these are all happening and I have no role in getting it. The only role I guess I have is that my luck and, and maybe the hard work that I have put in to act decently enough. So I was actually holidaying in America. My wife, her parents live in America, and with our son, I was there. And my agent from Hollywood calls me and says that there is a audition. Would you like to audition for Star Trek? I was like, that is interesting. And so the same phone that I'm talking to you right now through Zoom, I recorded myself, and I sent it to her. And then a week later, I got a call from them saying that you are chosen. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. It is the most expensive show on earth.
Wow, really?
At this point. Yes, the most expensive. I luckily acted also in the most expensive film in India, which is 2.0. And now this is the most expensive show. And I'm like, what's going on? But the important aspect, what I noticed while I was shooting for the strive for excellence by everyone, in every department, all the HODs and their assistants, to not leave anything to chance. Like in India, we have a general attitude, which in Hindi on Assamese called Soli Jaboar. Chalta hai yaar, chal jayega. So that attitude they do not have. I mean, they do not believe in that. No, it has to be what we actually imagine or envision. So there is a downside to it also, but and the upside to our way of living also chalta hai. That we don't take life so seriously, most probably because we believe that, okay, we are coming back again after we die. There is another life. And and if something is not working properly, we do not break our head on it. But the dangerous side of that is that we end up producing a lot of mediocre things, and that we must accept. In the West, when they're striving for excellence, they are extremely also hung up with that, and there is a certain amount of stress and tension, which is necessarily not very healthy as well. Sometimes you have to let things go, but not all the time. At a certain point of time, you say, okay, fine, we tried our best and it didn't work, we'll live with it. But so that is a very interesting difference I have noticed. And it's a privilege to be, I think, three people, most probably actors from India, that is part of Star Trek, Persis Khambata, and then few more. I think the famous tennis player, Amrit Raj, Amrita, most probably. Yes. I don't know yet. So, yeah. So it was a pleasure to work with them.
That's fascinating. And tell us about the most expensive Indian film that you've done. That 2.0 starring Rajinikanth.
Yeah, 2.0, yeah. Again, we grew up watching Rajinikanth. I mean, he does things that nobody can do, not even on screen. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I have scenes with him. And again, he is another person that I have seen who leads this life so stark, in terms of contrasting, because his everyday life is so ordinary. He doesn't put on makeup, he's bald, he's completely ordinary looking person, and he doesn't want to hide that. That's the difference between him and the rest of the Indian actors, all of them. That we put on a lot of effort how we present ourselves in everyday life, and which I think is takes away, dissipates the energy, which ideally should be focused on the craft itself. You know, so his fan base is doubled because people identify with him as an ordinary person. At the same time, this ordinary person does all those things on the screen. So the admiration for him is very different than admiration for any other superstars in India. That people identify with him. He's an ordinary guy like me. If he can do it, we can do it. You know, like there is a tremendous affection for this person, which I have not seen of this die-hard, intense affection for any other actor. I mean, in terms of quantity, a lot. And he proved it. Like how? I'll tell you a very interesting story, which I haven't told anybody yet, I guess. So shooting this scene where I'm playing the Home Minister. And he's sitting on my left. I have a line, he has a line, and then I say my line. You know? So I say my line, he forgets his line after one sentence, then he stops the shoot, he asks his assistant, and he forgets again. So 3 times that happened. Then he looks at me and says, "You are distracting me." So I took it like I didn't understand, how am I distracting him? I'm very focused actor, you know, I'm very fanatic about my concentration. He said, no. The way you are saying your line is so natural that I start listening to you and I forget my lines. So then he started clapping and everybody started clapping. So he has the humility also to say what he was going through, and that he forgot his line, and he appreciated the craft that I have, which is very few people would do.
Really true. So that's what makes him what he is, right?
Yes, exactly.
Actually, the one and only, really. And you've had that great experience working with him. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many films I need to ask you about, but, you know, you acted in mainstream and the art film with equal finesse. And I know you do say that you make some films for your bills and some for your dill. So tell us about that.
I think it's not a strategy, but it's so happened. Like, I keep getting the films at the right time. When my bank balance is dwindling, I keep getting a big film, like, you know, budget-wise. I'm like, oh, it's the right time. And I think this is important. It's not a coincidence. It is, for me, I don't know who believes what, people, those who are watching here. I always believed, Jahnavi, that if you do not worry, if you hand over all your worries to the greater powers which govern us, there is no doubt in my heart about it. And you will be looked after. You know, the amount of resources that one needs would come somehow or the other. And it had been proved. I'll tell you a story. I think it's a very inspiring story. I had, Jahnavi, 3,000 rupees in my bank in 2009. My wife was pregnant. She would deliver in March. I'm talking about November. I had 3,000 rupees in my bank in total. Of course, I have friends I can borrow money. But that month, I decided I'm not going to borrow any money from anybody. A life has come, and I have to only depend on the greater powers, which I keep talking about, but I must walk my talk. So I didn't. NSD, National School of Drama, was closed. I was not invited to teach. There is no other way for me to earn money. So I sat in the house, me and my wife, and whenever the worries come, we have been given these tools to hand over the worries, and we had been practicing diligently. And second day passed by, the third day, I was like, okay, I'm not going to move from this place. I'm going to be home. And on the fourth day, Jahnavi, I get a call, the film that you mentioned, Gango. got a call from the producer and he says that Irfan Khan has walked out from this film because of budget issues yesterday. And we are going to start the shoot of this film day after tomorrow in Kolkata. Can you come on board? Until then, no film. I have not. I acted in a film, but those haven't come out yet, so nobody knows me. So I said yes, I would love to act in your film. I would charge 20 lakhs, and if you pay 25% of 20 lakhs and wire it to my bank account in 1 hour, I'm yours. And since that day till today, I'm talking to you. I had no, thank God, I had no problem of financial resources or any kind of resources, which is, which I need, not what I want, but I need. So working in smaller films and big films are not strategy. It just happened the way it happened. But when I say with humor, I say, yeah, some for Dil, some for Bill. It is important because I play the part of acting in a big film. I play the part of an actor who acts in big film, also in, like the film that I mentioned from Meghalaya. That's a no budget film almost.
Yes.
There is almost zero budget film, and I got paid very little. And so anyway, so that's how it has worked out.
So end of the day, Adil, you're a good human being. God looks after his good people.
I'm blessed, yes.
That's wonderful to hear. Adil, but you must tell us more about Mira Nair's reluctant fundamentalist. You played along with Hollywood actors Kiefer Sutherland and Kate Hudson. How was that experience like?
Well, my scenes were not with him, and Keith Sutherland is one of my favorite actors. But it was Mira Nair. I met her first time in my life in 1992 when she was supposed to make Buddha, and I was one of the 2 actors being considered to play Buddha in 1992. I was still a student at the National School of Drama, and then cut to I don't know when I shot that film, 2013, 14 or sometime then. Mira comes and says, I would like you to play this role. And Mira, first experience of her, that she's one of the warmest, and she loves actors. She just loves actors. She thinks actors are the prime tool for stories to tell. There are other components, but she believes, I guess, that the deep connection and very loving and affectionate connection, like almost a mother, child, not the advising mother, but a loving mother who facilitates children instead of telling what to do. She's like that. And I have a long connection with her, and it was such a privilege to work with her.
So you were, this year, we've lost 2 stalwarts of the industry, Irfan Khan and Rishi Kapoor. You've acted with both of them, with Irfan in Life of Pi and in Kanchi with Rishi Kapoor. And would you like to share some memories with them?
Very strangely, neither Irfan or Rishi Kapoor, I acted in the same frame. Strangely so, but I met both of them. Okay. Irfan I met more than Rishi Kapoor. Rishi Kapoor I just met once, and he was busy in his shoot, and he came and was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" So he turned out to be a very affectionate person. Irfan, on the other hand, is very quiet kind of a person. He's pretty introspective quite often. But what I saw in him when I met him personally was that he is there is a constant sense of curiosity that he actually consciously cultivates and nourishes, and that keeps him alive, which we generally lose as we grow up. As a child, we all have it, but as we grow up, the onslaughts of life makes you more either to live in the past or in the future, but not in the present. And also the hurt and the pain and disrespect and injustice that we face from family members, siblings, society, whatever the reasons are, we lose that innocence. We start distrusting people. But a great asset of an actor is to keep the innocence alive, or they call it neo-innocence, that we have to recultivate that in order to believe anything on the face value. It's gullibility and vulnerability that you have to produce. Otherwise, I will not be able to take you. Suppose you are playing the role of, say, God, and I have to actually believe in it, to actually pray to you. Now, how do I believe you are God unless I have that innocence like a child? If I tell he's now a little grown up, he's losing his innocence, he's 10 years old. But initially, when he was 7, 8, or 5, I said, "Oh, there's a butterfly on my shoulder." I'm like, "What is it, Papa?"
Yeah.
Or if I say, "Where is Kabir?" He's in front of me, but hey, here I am. I mean, he actually believes that I can't see him, though he's in front of me. That innocence is one of the most difficult quality to sort of keep it alive, and also most important quality for an actor, for any practitioner of art, I guess, to keep it intact.
That is Irfan. We lost a great actor in him.
Yes.
But on the other side of the story, this unfortunate thing about Sushant Singh Rajput's suicide.
Right.
What is your take on it?
Well, I have never met him, and I have seen one of his films so far, Kedarnath, and I see that he has this sense of goodness in him, which anybody can feel it. I think all of us, we know what we are talking about. And it is important for actors, because I didn't know him personally at all. I don't live in Bombay, so I'm not privy to certain access to any kind of information which I can depend on to talk on it. But what I'm trying to say is very important for me, because we deal with emotions. And it is important for an actor to, when I'm playing a role which is of a darker nature, we go deeply within those areas which we all have. And there is a possibility that when we come out, we are smeared and with it. And there is a sort of a layer which may get smeared when we come out. And also it is very delicious, because to be what we are not. And that's why we are actors. I think that each and every actor, especially those who are of a vulnerable nature and believes in truthful acting and not artificial acting, they need to protect themselves from these emotions that we feel. And there has to be a way that we disengage our thinking mind from the emotional body. And that's why it is important for actors to be trained very well, to understand different phenomena of emotions, how it can really grip you and make you believe that this is true. I am depressed. It could be a possibility. So I'm extremely, extremely cautious about it. And I would suggest each and every human being, as well as definitely actors who practice this craft, should be very aware and should seek help if at any given time one feels like that I'm drowning. It is very important to seek help. Very sorry, very sad, was shocked to hear his demise, which is so sad.
Is there that fact about the nepotism in the industry?
Well, this is a very, I think it is tricky. It is very complex also, because nepotism, as we all know in India, it exists in every sphere of our lives. Like my father, the only father that I know, would not recommend me for anything. He used to tell me that I should be known as your dad, not you are as my son.
Really?
So there are people I know also that never believed in any kind of, like, I'm not going to recommend you your name, and you cannot tell that I am your dad. But at the same time, like for example, Ustad Amzad Ali Khan is married to an Assamese. Their two sons are musicians. So if they're musicians and they're good musicians and they're invited, will that be called nepotism? They grew up in a musical environment and they have taken up those qualities from his father, from his mother, from their mother. So their qualities cannot be, if those qualities do not merit a certain certain invitation or performances, and if Amzad Saab pushes the organizers or producers or directors, then I would call it nepotism. Now, in the case of all the star kids, have they been pushed? I have no idea. If they are pushed, then definitely that is nepotism. That if somehow, because I am in a powerful position, I can, even if I say a word that, just look after my people, that would be nepotism. But if the employer is coming to them asking that, no, this person, you are amazing and we'd like to try you out, I don't know, will that be called nepotism? Having said that, I'm sure these kind of things happen, and outsiders, they found it difficult, which is understandably, because there is no proper, like in America, in Hollywood, I have an agent. I have no godfather there. How did I get Star Trek? How did I get my life? How did I get Life of Pi? Or how did I get another film I just finished called India's Sweets and Spices? Manisha Koirala and I are husband and wife in that. And how did I get them? There is a structure in place that you have an agent, there are casting directors, there are agents, there are managers. You are called for auditions. Every actor, including the stars, they have to audition. You might be a great actor, but you have to audition whether you can do this role according to the vision of the director and producers or not. That system is not there in India. And that's why if the amount of nepotism which takes place is still prevalent in some quarters. That's what I feel.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting point you raised, really, Adil. How Priyanka Chopra went to US and I think through the agent, she's auditioned and
Exactly.
That came to my mind, right?
Yeah.
That's the system we should have. But your film, the Mukti Bhavan or Hotel Salvation, it really touched a chord in Japan, is it? And I believe it ran into several reruns with the Japanese audience. Did it resonate with them? Looking after elderly parents, the whole story. What was the storyline that so resonated for them?
Hotel Salvation ran in 36 countries. It ran for 5 weeks in England, in Spain, Western Europe, and Japan especially. It ran for 150 days. Like, it's long run, for a very small in terms of budget film. And it's a very special film. It got a 10-minute standing ovation when we opened in Venice Festival in Italy. It is written and directed by a 23-year-old, 24-year-old guy. And it's one of the films that I'm so proud of. One of the 3 films that I'm very proud of. And it's like telling a story from putting something so simply, something which is so deep, like death. And on the face of death, how this, father and son in a tiny little room, they're facing each other, their hidden grudges, unspoken accusations, all are being confronted in this tiny little room on the face of death, which is, I think, very rarely been told that way. And aging population in Japan, uh, because of their modern life and the kind of amount of hours, I hear Japanese, they get 10 days holidays. I mean, in the entire year, which is like unbelievable, I think. So they move away from their parents. We are also going through that phase slowly. We're moving away from our parents. We live in nuclear families, like in Delhi, me, my wife, and our son. Not with my mother, or she is not with her her parents, and we miss out on the wisdom of the older people. So and the affection of the people. Parents are busy, earning livelihood. So there's this emotional lack, the intensity of emotional attachment and the richness of emotion, which sort of gives you a protective layer around you for you to flourish as a child. And then we live with it and we grow and we have this vacuum or emptiness within us. So I think Japanese people is one of the countries in the world, the oldest. The demography is that the 60 or 70% of the population is beyond a certain age of, can be called elderly people. So they must have felt that, experienced that in their lives, and they want to reconcile with their parents, understanding, oh, my parents had a point of view which could be empathized with. So this film evokes that specific quality, of how to empathize with your parents who always wanted the best, for you.
That is so telling or commentary on our times. So
Yes,
family, lives, right? And
yes,
pause back and looking at your family. Well, we've talked so much about your films, and there's really too many questions. But I also wanted to ask you that you've also taken on a new role as a chef. So your live cooking demonstrations are very popular with the foodies in Delhi. How did that start? And that is in your real life, not even in your screen life. Tell us about
no. No, I started cooking at the age of 17. When I left home, I missed my mom's food.
it.
She is such a wonderful and amazing cook. And growing up in Gwalpara, which is a very interesting, though it's looked down upon as like Gwalpara, because I faced that when I was in Assam. But it's a very interesting place because it's the border district of West Bengal, and there are people from different parts of the tribes there. Like 12 kilometers from our house is Garo tribe, the Rabha tribe, the Santal tribes, and the Koch, and which also there are people from other part of Assam living there, like from bamboo shoot to Shoshe Mach. So all are prevalent there. So, and also I can read quite often, quite a lot of people in Assam can read or write Bengali as well. So we are bilingual. We have read Bengali literature, Assamese literature. I grew up with that. So I missed my mom's food and I started cooking. And to cook, you have to know how to cook. So when I went back home, I sat with mom like, oh, you fried the onion that much? Oh, salt can, all the nitty gritty and the nuances of when you put your salt, when you put your ginger paste and all that. And wherever I went in the country and across the globe, whatever I liked so much, very much, I sort of sat down and tried to understand how they cook, and I practiced it. And became a popular chef amongst my friends. Then one day, my friend who had a restaurant, they had to close it down for other reasons. He said, why didn't you cook in a restaurant? I said, oh my God, no. Because, calling friends and feeding them, even if they don't like it, they would, forgive me. But now you're calling people, you're going to charge money if I can't if they don't like the food, I'll feel terrible. I said, no, 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 believe us. No, you make great food. So I did it twice so far. And people came, the tables were sold out in a few days, and people came from different parts of the Delhi and came from foreign countries, and it was a success. So I'm now exploring to make pizza dough from scratch, pasta dough from scratch, bread, and chocolate chip cookies and all that. And it's going well. I'm very happy. I've become a baker now and a cook as well, of course.
That's great to know. So, especially in the new normal or shutdown time, that's, I guess, something you're doing a lot. So I have a lot of questions now. We have a long list of questions, so please bear with us, Adil. They're not going to let you go. I would ask Akanksha Singh to ask the question.
Okay.
Akanksha Singh.
Yes, sure. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Akanksha. Tell me.
Thank you, Mr. Hussain and Janvi, for such an insightful conversation, first of all. And so, second, my question is, which role of yours is closer to your personality?
Good question. Should I reveal it or not?
Please, please.
No, see, the personality is a very, very complex thing.
Yeah.
And I had been also, like, for example, if you look at the role of, say, most people have seen English Vinglish, so I'm giving that example. A lot of people at the airport, whenever I travel, especially women, they would come to me and say, "Are you like this in real life?" So I'm like, you have to ask my wife, I wouldn't say I'm like that in real life. Why would I say I'm such a rascal? I can't say that. But it is important to understand that we all have all the qualities within us.
Sure.
And it depends upon which are the qualities which make me nourish as a human being. And if I have a reference of my highest ideal, where I want to reach. So I would say I have all the qualities of all the roles that I have played. Now, in daily life, if you're asking my daily life, everyday life, I get irritated, but I'm also very kind and tender at the same time, So I swing, but now in the swing from this to that, the contrast is slowly diminishing, it's decreasing. I have found it, because that's my business. I've been doing it for so many years, that as soon as I tilt to the left, if I say left, like towards my irritation or towards things which we don't really like about ourselves, I immediately come to know that I'm shifting there. So I try to come to the center. And it is important to stay in the center as an actor also, so that we can travel wherever we want to, depending upon the role that I'm playing.
Very nice.
I don't know whether you consider this.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Now, Adil, we have Lakshmi Ishwar joining us from South.
Hi, Lakshmi. Tell me.
Lakshmi, have you found Lakshmi?
Lakshmi has left. She has exited.
All right. Then we still have a long list, Adil. We have Anjana Chandak, who would like to speak with you. Anjana.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Adilji, I found all your answers extremely inclined towards spirituality in some way, I don't know. So that brings me to my question. When I watched this movie Mukti Bhavan for the first time, it really touched me. But 2 years back, when my father donated his body for medical research when he passed away, this movie meant something totally different to me. It means so much. So I wanted to ask, was it easy for you to come out of that character, that role you played in Mukti Bhavan? Matlab, it must have been a very difficult process.
Luckily, I had gone through that process in 2003 myself.
Okay.
I was shooting in near Pakistan border in the Indian side for my television series called Jasus Vijay. And I was shooting. I came and sat down 8 o'clock in the evening. I got a call from my brother saying that dad passed away. And I was on the phone. I said, "Oh," and I could not even say any further. And then I got a call. The assistant director came to me and said, "Sir, shot ready hai." And I had to go and shoot. And for 2 hours I shot, knowing that my dad had just passed away. But this is I'm going from 2003 to flashback. From 1996 till 2003, I mean, till today, I had been very interested and I wanted to know all about death by all cultures. So I ended up reading a lot of very, very important scriptures and experiences by the great masters of India, especially Sri Aurobindo, Ramakrishna Mahaprabhu, then the shamans from South America, then the Buddhist philosophy, the Zen Buddhism about death. And I'm so convinced that end of the life, this life that we live, is just not the end of the story. This is just another, there will be another version, maybe another dimension that we don't know. But that's the best story that anybody has told me. And I know that stories are so powerful. Like you are talking about a story of Mukti Bhavan. It's very powerful. If you believe in a story, it becomes your reality. And that's why storytelling and good storytelling is so important. That how you tell a good story and with what intent you are telling a story, only to make profit, or it is with that intent that watching a story, our lives must find another meaning, an upliftment, a kind of a little macro view about the bigger picture, the master play. And I believe in that story, that this is not the end of my life. My life is going to continue in a different form, different dimension. So my father died, and I know I did not even shed a drop of tear. And I was surprised. Didn't I love my dad? And I'm like, no, I love my dad, but I never felt sad, because believing in the story that this is not the end of life, this is not the end of the story. The story continues. The life stops here, but in other form. So while I was doing Mukti Bhavan, it was very interesting for me to again sort of enact that, oh, okay, my father and my life, and I had to borrow things from other people's emotions, what they felt about their loved ones when they departed. So that was the experience. So I had, as soon as I heard about this story, I said, I'm going to do it. Whether you pay me or you don't pay me, I don't care. I want to tell this story because it's such a beautiful story.
Thank you so much. No wonder you played the role with such conviction. Thank you so much for such a lovely and beautiful and deep meaning film. Thank you.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
Thank you. Now, Adil, we have Shruti Kulbe from Uttarakhand Flow chapter, from Uttarakhand.
Hi, Shruti.
Kulbe.
Yes, please.
Shruti coming on, Shruti?
Hi, I'm actually Shruti Somani from Delhi chapter. I don't know if it's the same Shruti you mentioned. Again, Mr. Hussain, I really admire your work. to especially Mukti Bhavan. I found it very, very a really beautifully made movie. I have two short questions. One, which would you consider as your most challenging role till date? And the other is would there be any kind of role you would not do? What kind of role would you refuse to do?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. I have to figure this out yet. I don't have a ready answer for the second question, but the first question so far, I wouldn't know if it is my favorite role, but it's the most difficult role and very, very important role that I played. Can you hear me? Because I can hear somebody else talking. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
The most difficult role I played is in a film called Sunrise, Orunade. It's a Marathi film, and it was available on Netflix. I would suggest if anybody, I don't know whether it's still there or not. It was the role of a father who is a police officer, and he lost his daughter. Someone kidnapped his daughter when daughter was 10 years old, 10 years ago. And every night after his official work, after his working hours, he looks for his daughter. And I had no idea how to do it. I had no clue how to play that role. I had a 5-year-old son, but it's so difficult to imagine the agony, the pain, the torture one would go through. But somehow I had to do it because I said yes to it. And I cannot take any credit for the role. It was very well received and raved by the best of the magazines of the world, the Hollywood Reporter and Variety. They appreciated the way I played the role. And I didn't know how to play it. So I completely depended on this Indian method, which I call it handing over to the goddess of creativity. And I truly say, I don't know how I did it, but it happened, you know. I would go to the set and I close my eyes and I say, okay, I have no clue how to play this scene. Please play it for me. Of course, my body, my instrument, this is actor's instrument, is his body, his emotions, his nerves, and everything had been, I had to spend a lot of time training it. So something happened and I went ahead and I did it. And the director was convinced that I'm doing it the right way. That was very difficult because it's almost like jumping from a cliff without a rope. And I would die or I would fly. And thankfully, someone helped me to fly, you know. And so I cannot take the credit for it, but that was the most difficult role. And I wish that you could find that film to watch it. And there was, when you showed the short clip, that film was mentioned. There's this poster with a sort of a hand art poster. That is the poster of that film called Sunrise.
I'll definitely try.
And the second part of your question is that what role wouldn't I play? I guess I'm done playing roles which are very dark because I just don't enjoy it anymore. And I think unless it is meant for a greater purpose, it cannot be meant for a small artistic vision.
Okay.
It has to be a grand artistic vision of the film, of the story, which will, like if I have to play Hitler, I would play Hitler.
Understood.
But then the film cannot be, for a very small purpose. It has to be a grander purpose to understand the grand play of Hitler's importance and his contribution, what he did, and how he did it, and why he did it. You know, like Europe has seen the darkest and the lowest depth of humanity through Hitler. And it got inspired to become a civilized continent. The UN got
Yeah.
established
Sure.
after that. So I would not play Hitler as a villain
Understood.
ever. So it is important what is the story saying. Otherwise, I would not play the dark roles, and I'm done with it. I don't know if it has answered your question.
No, that's very beautifully answered, both the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Adil, we have with us perhaps the only gentleman in the group. He's the Secretary General of FICCI, Mr. Dilip Chinoy. I would love to have Mr. Chinoy ask the question.
Hi, Mr. Chinoy.
Is he here yet? I thought. Ankurita, can you find Mr. Chinoy? Bring his attention. Okay, in the meantime, I know, or is that...
Meenal also wants to ask a question. Meenal Jain.
Right. We also from FICCI Flow. Is that Malu who would like to ask the question? Malu.
Meenal Jain from Flow Jaipur.
Oh, Meenal Jain. Okay, there's Malu from FICCI Flow Mumbai too. All right.
Yeah.
Who would you like to ask? Meenal Jain first? Okay.
Can I go ahead?
Go on. Meenal Jain.
Hi. Hello. Hello. Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear
hi,
you,
Mr.
Meena.
Hussain. It was lovely hearing you. Hi. I wanted to know, how do you switch on and off between such complex characters? Does it affect your own thinking and personality?
It took me a long time to figure that out. It's not switching off. It's almost like gliding out and gliding in. That would be that possibly could describe it the best so far, I know. You glide in and you glide out. Now, gliding out, I've found a place within myself which is a very safe space, which I have been practicing for a long time, because I was so scared looking at and reading about almost all the great actors, their autobiography, that their personal life was in total jeopardy.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Their personal lives were very, 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 chaotic. And I didn't want to. So when I was a young actor, at the age of 27, 28, when I graduated from National School of Drama, I saw also Indian actors who were constantly depending on, quite a few of them who are pretty well known, depending on something else than the craft for their joyous state of being. And I did not understand that if my craft, if my work does not give me joy, then why am I going to practice what I practice? Why am I going to be a practitioner of art unless it gives me that joy without even getting paid or recognized? So it took me a long time to find a way and tools which I had been practicing for last 20 years. And I found a place within and managed to fortify that space to some extent, that within few breaths I take and I come back to a space which is quiet and peaceful. And from there, I can sort of dive deep into my whatever emotional, caves and crevices that I have in order to play the role. So that explanation hopefully would answer my question. That I am being able to sort of diving in and diving out, and and stay in that amazing warmth which one has created, which feels extremely safe and gets me back to Adil, which is not the role that I'm playing. Yeah.
So to come in and out of those roles is the whole challenge, and the discipline and the balance that you have to bring to your life, right?
Right. Yes.
So Adil, I'm looking for Mr. Dilip Chinoy of FICCI. Mr. Chinoy. Please go ahead.
Thank you, President. But I know, hi. I've been listening into the conversation last time, and when you asked me last time to come in, I also heard that. But I really don't have a question. I think this is really for everybody. But really want to thank Adil for joining this session, and congratulate Flo for actually having this excellent session. I'd rather listen and learn rather than anything else, and I don't have a question to ask. So, thank you, President.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure, Mr. Shinoy. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for letting me.
We have Malu Natharajan from Mumbai.
Hello,
Flo,
Mr. Nair. Sorry.
We can find Malu. Malu, go ahead.
Thanks. We met in Singapore when Mukti Bhavan was rolled out by Shreyasi Sen. So, hello.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Good. Adil, since Flo is a Women Empowerment Forum, I thought I would ask you a slightly different question. In 2018, you'd made a comment about the general habit to exclude women from decision-making. I think that was the delegation that went to meet the Prime Minister. And it being more of a patriarchal system in Bollywood. So has anything changed over the last 1 year or so?
Anything?
Has anything changed at all? Yeah.
Good question. I know. I wish that the process of evolution was less painfully slow, but it is very slow. I think patriarchy is a deep-rooted bias and conditioning that we have grown up with, including women. Even women believe in, quite a lot of women believe in patriarchy. Yeah. I've seen a lot of Trump followers in America. They believe that women are not even fit to become president of America. Can you believe I've seen some. I was shocked. But then, at the same time, being shocked is not the right response, because this had been the practice for the last, I don't know how many 100 years, maybe more. According to shamanistic history, they say 40,000 years that men had taken over the world. So it is in our, almost in DNA, in our, deeply engraved in our system. And it would take a lot for each and every man in the world to come to terms with, and to come, because first of all, one has to recognize that one has it. You have a disease and you don't know you have it, then that's dangerous. But when you know you have it, there is a possibility of a cure. And that recognizing that you have it is happening now. That's the movement which is started maybe elsewhere, but in India is slowly taking root. And I'm so happy that we are asking these questions. And in some places, in metros, maybe it is more discussed and more debated than in the villages. So it is a slow process. And I doubt 1 year is good enough time. Maybe it will take. I don't want to be pessimistic. I hope it happens tomorrow, or it should have happened yesterday. But I think not in 100 years.
Well,
can I ask Jahnavi, because for some reason my battery is just. Can you give me 1 minute? I'll just plug in and stay there, and maybe you can I'll just get my.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just coming.
Okay.
Battery is running out.
So, lady, who else has a question? Anyone else would like to?
Uma Deora has a question. Uma Deora from Northeast.
Okay, I will say.
Yeah, I can hear you, so you can ask the question.
Okay, Uma, go ahead. Uma is from our Flow Northeast chapter, Adil.
Yes, please.
Uma, unmute.
Yeah, I'm plugged in. Hi, Uma.
She's trying to unmute herself.
Yes. So Adil, it has been fantastic to hear you. And
Okay.
we can feel that you've been speaking from the core of your heart. Every answer you've given, I've never heard any artist speaking so openly and so well explained. Every question was extremely well explained. But as because I'm from Assam, I'd like to know that would you do like to do something for our Assamese movies? Because though we have very good artists here, very good directors and actors and everything, but still it's very on very long way to go compared to other states, other movies. So would you like to do something or help our Assamese industry to do something for the in this field?
I wish I could. But there are certain good filmmakers,
Yes, yes.
especially women, Rima Das.
Rima Das, yes.
She is making amazing films, and she and
Yes.
I are in touch, and
Yeah.
most probably will be working together very soon. In my capacity, Ms. Suma, is that I'm not a writer, nor a director, nor a producer. So I just can act, probably. That's the only thing I can do a bit decently. Um, Filmmaking, the conception of filmmaking, the inception and conception, it happens from the producers and directors, and I don't know any other way apart from the fact if somebody invites me and offers me a great story, I will be way more than glad to be part of it. And that's that much I can possibly do at this point of time, unless I take up a story, which I am now thinking a story which I had in my mind since 25 years, set in Assam, and I am about to start writing the screenplay, and which I really want to do as a director or as a storyteller, I would say. I would like to tell that story, and I'm thinking of doing that.
I'm
So
sure
I don't know how else to help.
I know I can make out that you can really write very well because the way you explain every point, your writer is within. So you can really go ahead.
I have
We
no
feel
idea.
proud. We
I'm
feel
such a
proud
lazy
that
writer.
you're making name of Assam all over the world. You're taking Assam all over the world. We are really
Absolutely.
proud of you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
Adil won the national award for the Assamese film at Majrati Keteki. So we have Komal Batra here, Adil, from.
Yes, Komal.
Komal, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Adil sir, my question is, some of us are blessed to be born in a family that has some spiritual inclination that influences the decisions and practices that we follow in life. And for the others, something happens in their life which turns the whole perspective, the whole scenario for us to go ahead. I would like to know, what was it for you that has brought such deep understanding and such deep self-discovery process that you implement in your life and in your films as well? Thank you.
I'm born in a family in Gwalpara in Assam. My mother's father was a Sufi saint. He walked from Iraq. In 1875, he settled down in a small little village, which is called Jaleshwar, and his shrine is, still visited every year by almost 10 lakhs, 1 million people within the span of 3 days' time in January. I grew up listening to. My mother was 5 when my grandfather passed away, so I've never met him. I kept hearing the stories from my mother, what his capabilities and his in our language, the chamatkars. He used to. He was capable of so many things that he did to help people, to give in scholarship to people, to study, study whatever they wanted to study. And there are people in Assam who come to our house sometimes. One of them is also very well established medical profession, that he had gotten help from my grandfather, or his father gotten help from my grandfather. So I grew up with all these stories, but I never believed in all these miraculous things that my mother used to talk about. I thought, those are just stories. But when how do I say? I personally experienced something that was in '92 in a small little town in Assam. Something which cannot be explained, the phenomena. And I was very, very shocked, and shocked in a sense, not in a bad way. I was very overwhelmed with that experience. And that passed, and later, because I met these amazing people who handed me over the amazing books. As I said, my first introduction to Indian mysticism was reading Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Ramakrishna. And I was very touched, deeply disturbed, thinking that maybe I have better things to do than acting or theater. But I didn't realize then that theater is also a doorway, or acting is a doorway, is a vehicle towards higher understanding of life. So yeah, if that much, and then it's a long story. Otherwise, it will be a book. It will be a trilogy if I start writing my journey. Maybe one day, when I am a little older, I'll do that.
That was fascinating. We've touched so many aspects, Adil. We could go on and on. I know we probably have to let you go. So, but we'll continue our conversation. And from all of us at Flow, we'd like to thank you for this time you've given us and for the learnings. And we know that we can all wish you more and more, that you will bring, your talent, your craft, in all the aspects you're going into, especially if you read it, you're going to be directing films. This is the best news for us. Everything will be there. You have God's blessings. Can I ask my Senior Vice President, Ujjala Singhania from Mumbai, who would like to give the vote of thanks, Adil?
Thank you. Thank you, Janvi.
Thank you, Janvi. Good afternoon, everyone. It was very interesting and candid conversation that we had today with internationally acclaimed actor Adil Hussain. On behalf of Flow, I would like to thank Sri Adil Hussain for being with us today. It was so wonderful to hear your journey in the world of cinema. Very inspiring and very insightful it was. My sincere thanks to the past president and governing body members for joining us. Also, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the viewers who joined us today across from different parts of the country. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me in.
Thank you. We could go on and on, but yeah, we'll let you go.
Yes, we have to go.
Thank you so much, Adil. Namaste. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. God bless you too.